Iquique, Chile, South America. Located on the western edge of the Atacama Desert, almost 2,000 kilometers north of the Chilean capital Santiago, Iquique is one of the driest areas on the planet and home of what used to be one of the only production sites of nitrate in the world, or Salitre as it is known in Spanish. This year, Los Condores Air Base, located 30 kilometers south of Iquique, played host to Salitre 2004, a multinational air combat training exercise designed to enhance interoperability and regional cooperation among nations of the Americas.
The purpose is, one, to practice multinational operations in terms of planning an air operation. For that we have a robust planning staff under a Joint Forces Air Component Commander. Two is to execute that plan, and that again is a joint operation in the Combined Air Operations Center. And then three, to tactically go out and fly the missions, and that allows us to gain interoperability at the tactical level among the pilots.
The purpose of Salitre 2004 is to improve the cooperation, the good relations, the mutual confidence, and the interoperability of the country participating, United States, Argentina, Brazil, and Chile.
Bringing so many people together is a difficult task. The more than 100-person contingent from the United States, composed of active duty, reserve, and National Guard, came from 5 different U.S. bases. Equipment, supplies, and 74 service members arrived via C-5 cargo airlifter based at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas. While not a participant in the actual exercise, the airlifter served as a vital link, bringing personnel and equipment to the fight.
The C-5 didn't actually participate in the exercise, but it had an integral role in getting all of us over here in one shot. We were able to put all the equipment, the spare parts, all the people on the plane, and not have to separate any of that and be able to do it without stopping. So it was a quick 10-hour flight, and we made it here with everything that we needed.
Hosted by the Chilean Air Force, the 2-week exercise consisted of more than 600 service members and 50 aircraft from Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and the United States. This year marks the first ever deployment of all 4 countries, and also the first time a combined air operations center was integrated.
It is unprecedented in terms of its scope and size to have 4 nations with 3 primary languages conducting simultaneously incorporated Air Force assets missions.
With 4 cultures and 3 languages, communication problems were bound to arise. Military professionalism became the common denominator in solving problems that cropped up due to language barriers and different ways of doing things.
We're interacting well with the Chileans. We've been able to show them how we do business, and also they were able to see how we do business. We've been able to share both technical information and information on how we do business. There's many differences in the way we launch and recover aircraft, but there's also many similarities. So we've been able to kind of improve on what each other does, hopefully in the future.
Me, not a Spanish-speaking person, I have to point a lot and say half words, but we really enjoy it. We don't have a problem. We take the time to get to know each other.
Keeping the 5 F-16s from the New Mexico Air National Guard flying was no easy task either. Maintainers from several different Air Force specialty codes worked together to keep the fighters mission ready in an unfamiliar environment. One of the F-16s was the D or 2-seat model. Deploying a 2-seat fighter afforded Chilean pilots, maintainers, and safety officials the opportunity to become familiar with the F-16, a key objective for Salitre 2004.
Chilean pilots already converted to F-16, flying with the National Guard pilots and during the exercise. On the other hand, our candidates to be ground crew members of the F-16 weapon systems had been familiarizing themselves with the F-16 procedures in order to get an advantage before they get the formal ground crew chief training in the United States.
Salitre 2004 followed a classic low-intensity combat wargaming scenario utilizing only air power. In this scenario, two fictional countries called Red Land and Blue Land clashed over defense of their shared border, which brought together a coalition on behalf of Blue Land under a fictional United Nations mandate. No matter what the scenario, the scheduling and execution of flying operations is inherently difficult. Factor in the differences in tactics and training among the participating countries with dozens of aircraft and even helicopters, and you've created a one-of-a-kind area of operations. But in the end, the coalition was victorious and the objectives were successfully met. Salitre 2004 garnered a great deal of media and distinguished visitor attention, from the Chief of Staff of the Chilean Air Force to the country's Minister of Defense. Each country deployed at least 2 public affairs representatives to cover the exercise for their individual countries. Host country Chile provided the largest contingent, direct from the headquarters of the Chilean Air Force, to oversee all communications aspects of the exercise. Along with flying operations, the public affairs mission for Salitre resulted in a strong example of regional interaction and teamwork. Salitre was divided into 2 phases. The first week consisted of force integration training, whereby all the participants and assets were integrated into a typical combined operation, such as intelligence, personnel, logistics, communications, command and control, and air operations. The second week saw the actual execution of the fictional air war. Combat sorties were flown, aircraft were shot down, casualties were reported, and pilots were captured.
The first week was known as the Flight Integration Training Phase, or FIT. It was to get pilots from the various countries and their individual aircraft familiar with being able to cooperate and the characteristics of their aircraft with the other nations' planes that are participating. The second phase is a coercion phase during the second week, which is part of the live-ex, or live exercise portion. This is when, after the walk before you run, the actual running begins in terms of flying and cooperating with one another, with some realistic ground attacks that have been incorporated into the scenario as well.
With the baked sand desert next to a rocky, wave-filled ocean as a backdrop, Salitre 2004 represented the largest air exercise ever hosted by Chile.
It was a very successful exercise, and a large part of that was due to the immense amount of work that went into planning it. Again, that was a multinational effort in the planning, but particularly our Chilean hosts, I think, did a very, very good job of logistical support in planning the exercise. That was the first step in making it a very successful exercise. What we saw over the last 2 weeks was good cooperation between the 4 countries involved. We saw a well-planned exercise that was well executed, safely executed, and we learned a lot both on the tactical level in the flying and also the planning and air operations center level.
We have developed very good relationships, good cooperation bonds, and we're convinced that we're going to finish today our exercise very successful.
I was here for 2000, for Salitre in 2000, and we've built on that, and we've added a multinational force. We've been able to interact with not only the Chileans, but the Brazilians and the Argentinians as well. And I think just building those partnerships and building those relationships just helps this exercise take it to the next level.
As is usually the case, countless hours by literally hundreds of people helped make it an overall success in this land south of the equator that's coming into summer. It's a success, not just because the war was won, but because it showed 4 countries with different languages and cultures can integrate and work together for a common purpose. Work very well together, in fact. In the end, perhaps the biggest lesson of all is that people are more alike than they realize.